now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
Hey, everybody, it is Wednesday, March the 4th. I'm Emerson Collins.
And I'm Del Shores.
And you're listening to
The Del and Emerson Show. Straight talk.
Real gay! Oh my God, hi, Del Shores.
Hello, Emerson.
How are you?
Let's pretend we haven't seen each other today,
All
that
day
we just
long.
walked in. Hi, oh my God.
I feel like you must enjoy this. I was talking to somebody recently about, bless your heart, like, because in like private spaces, I'm not super effusive.
Right.
Like my public persona is very different than the one in my like personal space because I'm really kind of an introvert ultimately, but look like an extrovert in public. So you see the most like deadpan, unenthusiastic face all day long, and then we get here and I go, hey.
I know. There are days where I go, is he mad at me? Did I do something? He's not even giving me eye contact today. But not recently, because I know you so well now.
Yeah.
But I have to say, last week you were so giddy, you were so happy on the show that I had literally like 5 or 6 people texting me and sending me messages on Facebook. What was Emerson on last week?
Well, today I'm not. No, I'm kidding. We'll see.
Gonna bring the room down.
We'll just never know. I mean,
we have a great show.
Choices. We do, and we had a great weekend of really fun activities.
Fun weekend. We both went to the Family Equality Council dinner, which was I loved that dinner so much because of the celebration of gay families and what it stands for. We've been active in that organization for a very long time, and you've got us on the red carpet there. We went with the delicious Ann Walker and our friend Tommy Starling, and Jeff Littlefield sponsored us, or they got us our seats at the table.
Yeah, because they're hugely involved, and it really was an amazing evening. They had various kinds of people. They had the 2 gay guys who were in the Honey Maid This Is Wholesome commercial talk. They had the 2 guys that we actually talked about on our show from Fort Worth who were unable to adopt their children once their surrogate had the babies because of weird legal issues related to family court, and that's what Family Equality Council does. So we talk a lot about marriage equality, but they do a lot of the work for all of the additional issues that come up in becoming parents and ensuring that legally our families are protected. So it's really impressive, and I found the whole evening very inspiring.
And it's familyequality.org if you want to get involved. They do such amazing things for legislation, and it was so star-studded.
Oh,
I was
yes.
like crazy. We walk in, and there's Beau Bridges hugging me, and then you just look around, and there's a housewife everywhere.
The entire Real Housewives of Beverly Hills were there.
Except the bitches, the mean ones.
Well,
Brandy
now,
wasn't there.
they almost all qualify in that category.
But this season, Kim and Brandy have been such villainesses on the show, and they neither one were there. But I got to talk and meet Lisa and Harry, and there's a great picture of me and Lisa, Vanderpump with our red. I wore a red jacket, so it was fun.
And they also billed it as the final performance of the cast of Glee, and so Leah Michele and Cord Overstreet and Alex Newell and Harry Shum Jr. and Tina Cohen-Chang, I forget the actress's actual name, Jenna Ushkowitz, I believe. And the girl that plays Kitty were all there, and they did. And Alex Newell came out full on as Unique in like the full wig and gown, and just sang his face off. And then they all got up there and they did some other number that clearly not everyone knew all the words to. And then they finished with "Don't Stop Believing."
It was great, and it was I Will Survive was what led into that number, which wasn't it? Did they start with "I Will Survive"?
I don't think so.
No,
I think it was some other of that
must
era.
Have been a flashback to a cruise that I was on.
Probably. But anyway, so the evening was really great, and we were really glad to be a part of it. And then on Sunday, we got to go to church without going to church.
Yes, Blake MacGyver, who frequents our show, we love his voice, and he really truly is like a black woman in a white gay man's body.
Yes, Blake MacGyver and Dietrich Bonner have put on here in Los Angeles at Rockwell a gospel brunch. So it was an hour and 15 minutes of all gospel music. So you get to go to church and hear good music and drink without any of that messy sermon stuff. It was perfect.
And then I continued on to Uncabaret, where Lauren Weedman gave an amazing show and sang Loretta Lynn, which made my entire month. And then I went home and watched her brilliant performance on Loving. So
Looking?
I mean, looking, Loving. Wasn't that a soap opera?
I don't know. I don't know what that is.
How great was she in that episode?
Amazing.
It was Emmy worthy. It really was. So yes, we had a great. And John was at the gospel brunch. Yeah. Oh, good. So we have some equality updates?
Yes, we do. Bless their sweet homo Alabama hearts. So Roy Moore and the crazies in Alabama are just doing their best to fight this in every way possible. The Alabama Supreme Court just ordered probate judges throughout the state to stop issuing marriage licenses temporarily to same-sex couples. Now, as we've said on the show, the Supreme Court let the federal court judge's ruling that the ban was unconstitutional go into effect. But the Alabama Supreme Court has decided that they can do what they want. It said that the marriage ban in Alabama is constitutional because the federal district court injunction only applies to a handful of officials. The Supreme Court ordered the rest of the judges who are not specifically covered by those injunctions to stop issuing licenses.
You know, years ago, I watched a Kathy Griffin special, and she said, Southerners are so proud of their ignorance. And I feel like I mean, you know, we sort of feel like we're Southern. I don't think that is true with a lot of us, but this does feel like that. They're just relishing in their ignorance and spewing it, and just shut up. Shut the fuck up.
And ultimately just delaying the inevitable at the cost of LGBT families in their state as it currently exists. It's going to happen, and they're just fighting it, and it's inevitably going to be dealt with.
But we had good news.
Yes, but Nebraska had a federal judge overturn their same-sex marriage. They denied the stay requests and set a date of March the 9th, so they will be waiting to see if the 8th Circuit, which has not ruled yet, actually, in any of their states, Missouri, Arkansas, or South Dakota, decides to put a stay in place. And if not, on March the 9th next week, Nebraskans will be able to get same-sex marriage.
So as it stops in Alabama, it starts in Nebraska, basically. Yep. We're going to have a little trade here.
Yes. And in other equality news, you know, as we head towards the oral arguments in front of the Supreme Court at the end of March, lots of organizations are filing friend of the court briefs with the Supreme Court, and what that means is that they state their position in support of one side or the other of the argument. And Attorney General Eric Holder wrote an op-ed for USA Today this week where he talked about how the Department of Justice will be filing an unequivocal yes in support of same-sex marriage being the law of the land. And he is an eloquent and articulate man, obviously, and he went on to talk about how it affects every aspect of the daily lives of LGBT people, from workers' comp to taxes, inheritance, adopting and raising children, medical decisions, hospital visitation, that no family should feel like a second-class family. So it was well done. But again, it's important. We can't understate the importance of having individuals at the very top levels of our government continuing to stand strongly in support of what we hope will be a decision in our favor in June.
And I loved what he said, where he said, denying them the right to marry serves only to demean them and their children, back to family equality, and to degrade the dignity of their families and deny them the full, free, and equal participation in American life to which every citizen is entitled.
Yes.
Beautifully worded.
Yes, for Eric Holder. Yes.
Yeah, we
That's
should.
what I say.
Yeah, we need like cheerleader applause.
No, I got
for
it.
him.
Yes. No.
Oh, there we go.
No. No, that's our applause.
That's
he
just
should,
for us.
He gets applause, but not as big as us. I mean,
Okay.
come on.
All
It's
right.
our show. We're
Could
enough.
you just bring the volume down for other people,
Right.
John? We don't.
Just
we
so
don't,
it's clear that the audience is not quite as excited for anyone else as they are for us.
There we go.
And in other equality news, we talked about how Vietnam is the first Southeast Asian country to permit same-sex marriage. Well, Ted Osius has been appointed the first gay U.S. ambassador to Vietnam as of the beginning of this year. So we will now be represented in that country that is the only one that allows some form of same-sex marriage in Asia by a gay man. And so that's really exciting.
And I'm going to be there soon. Maybe I can meet him.
Oh, maybe you should. You should hit him up.
Say, Ted, hey, Ted.
Hey, Ted, what's going on?
Could you come on our show? We talked about you.
I'll be like, oh, no, that'd be like the middle of the night. That's a lot. All right, who's been gnashing their teeth?
Okay, I'll give you a hint. Dried up old prune is back in the news.
That would not have told me anything.
Phyllis Schlafly. She's 90 years old, but her mind is still working hard.
Is it?
Working against us. So she was at the Christian conservative. Well, she's the founding mother of the Christian conservative movement, and she says that LGBT rights are not inevitable. She says, "Don't believe for a minute that the Supreme Court's decision in June on marriage equality, no matter how positive, will diminish the crusade against LGBT equality. In fact," she says, "it will only serve to reinvigorate the anti-gay movement. She's so proud of this. I'm extremely disappointed that the Republican Party, the conservative movement, even the Democratic Party and the churches have been saying, well, soon the court will decide and that will be it. Well, a lot of people thought that Roe versus Wade, and we've seen the whole abortion movement turn around in the last 10 years. She says, I do believe the grassroots can take back the Republican Party. These kingmakers, they're the people who really want us to be bipartisan and get along with everybody. See, she doesn't want to get along, but that's not the American way.
Nope.
Getting along with everybody is not the American way. Americans believe in the adversarial concept. You know, she's 90 and she's almost dead. That's the good news. And it's so crazy that in 1992, Queer Week outed her son, John, her oldest son, and she says he embraces my views even though he's gay. He embraced John.
There must be some weird like Oedipus problem happening over there.
I love the picture that we have of her. I just want to do her hair or redo her hair. I just want to make it higher. It's just not high enough for me. So I have 2 words for you, Phyllis Schlafly. Fuck you. All right. What else?
Also, it's funny, you know, her name was in the original version of Southern Baptist Sissies that I first did, but I didn't know who she was.
But we talked about the gay step and fetch son in that, right?
Yes, but I didn't. But like, she wasn't someone that I knew, and
well, a good actor would have done his research.
I
Emerson.
did, but I didn't know when I first read it.
Oh, so you
in reading through the script, I had never heard of this crazy woman.
I mean, if you haven't, she truly is held responsible for defeating the Equal Rights Amendment. I mean, she is so anti-feminist. But there's that scripture in Timothy that basically says women should be quiet, and I just think, hey, Phyllis, shut the fuck up.
I think
We're
that's
tired
fair.
of you.
I think that is fair.
There's a coffin somewhere waiting for you, Phyllis. Go with Jesus. Go with him. He's waiting to meet you.
He's calling your name.
Say, come on, Phyllis.
Come on. Come on, Phyllis.
Delford don't need you down on earth anymore. Go to the light.
Go to the light, Phyllis Ann.
Okay,
all right,
else?
flashing on. Well, the last week has actually been a huge week in LGBT issues, and specifically in certain kinds of gay representation on television that is actually new in a whole bunch of ways. It's funny, we talked about this because I watch entirely too much television, and Dell is a good, hard worker all the time, and
That's
he barely
not
watches
true.
any.
I watch too much reality. Let's just face it.
I watch so much soapy drama. So I will tell you about some of them, and he can respond with his thoughts.
I'll go,
A week ago tonight on Empire, which has the unique distinction of being one of the first show in a decade to have grown in the ratings every single week that it's been on the air. The son of Terrence Howard and Taraji P. Henson, who is gay, came out to his father and his family and the whole world while singing a song at a huge event. And it was this incredibly sort of triumphant moment. He had met this other bisexual or gay character who told him, that I just live my life as I am and people can take it. And he came out in a song, fist pumping in the air. He rewrote the lyrics to his dad's song and made it gay, and it was scandalous.
Well, I'm going to power through because I found out you can get it on Hulu now, and I've missed them, so I want to catch up. There was a little controversy, though, with him because one of his castmates supposedly outed him, correct?
Yes.
Did you read about that? But
yes.
Now he's denying it. He said he was talking about the character and not I think his name is Jassy? Is that right?
Jesse Smollett.
Smollett?
Yeah.
And his character's name's Jamal. But anyway.
I have thoughts on that, but they go with that other story. And then in How to Get Away with Murder, the season finale last week.
You love that show.
Which, first of all, it's ridiculous. It's March. Why are we having a season finale? Is Viola Davis off making some movie? I guess that now we have to wait until September. It's really rude.
She can't just be up for Emmy nomination. She has to keep the Oscars going, Emerson, and she is truly one of our best actresses. I love her.
Well, she could take a normal person hiatus and give me 8 more episodes of that show, but that's fine.
Greedy.
The gay character that people have talked a lot about, who has been one of the great representations of actual gay sexuality on primetime network television, he and the boy that he's been sort of almost kind of dating head towards having sex again, and the other the Oliver character says we need to go get tested, in order to keep doing this as a very responsible thing. They go to the testing center, and the main character, Connor, sits in there, and they actually show that conversation that the worker always has with you, where she says, how many sexual partners have you had in the last year? And he says 20. And she says, so less than 2 a month? And he goes 30. And then he pauses and says, well, maybe 40. And then she says, do you always use a condom? And he said, always when I'm on the bottom bunk. which is amazing. He said, and most of the time when I'm on the top, but I heard that that's not as dangerous. She goes, well, it is. And so they have their test taken, and then later in the episode, the other character calls and says, "Do you have your results?" And he's no, and they show him panicking, that test waiting thing. And I found it so authentically real because whether you're worried or not, it's an experience that all men who have sex with men have experienced at some point in your life. Even if you're not worried, there's something about the testing process that for many of us can cause sort of anxiety in the waiting period. And then they get to the end of the episode, and spoiler alert, reveal that the boyfriend character has HIV. Said that he tested positive. A slut. That's really judgmental.
The very active 40 a year.
The one with a healthy sexual appetite.
Have you had those conversations? Because I've had a couple of awkward ones like that.
Yes. Well, for me at testing centers, this is always my favorite. Like, do you use oral sex when you have a condom? And every single time,
oral sex?
Do you use a condom when you have oral sex? And every single time, my response was this: no. And anyone that tells you they do is lying.
Right. Well, I mean, going back to the bottom buck, top buck kind of thing with if she truly said that it is as dangerous, that's not true. Statistically, that's not true.
I think it goes to the thing of that health professionals, because you're talking about statistical margins and self-reporting when it comes to when and how people contracted HIV. I think that all health professionals and HIV/AIDS professionals would prefer for no one to think that there are activities that you, quote, don't need to worry about. So I would think that's why they simplified the whole conversation.
Okay.
Because I've never seen a health professional who works with HIV and AIDS say like, oh, but you're probably fine.
I have.
Well,
I had a doctor who said, just basically said that I don't see someone who is a top regularly all the time, exclusively top. They do not test positive for HIV usually. That's what he told me. So,
but usually is a big word.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the difference? One time is one time. So
right, true.
And I think that, but nonetheless,
the risk is lower. That's all I'm saying. I think if you do research, the risk is lower for tops than the unprotected sex. I'm not advocating at all. I mean, I am the king of safe sex on all levels except for the oral thing. I kind of agree with you on that.
Right.
So,
so it is a storyline that's not been done.
But look at us talking
about
it. How smart that they put this on a network show and that we're actually discussing it here. This is great.
And so that was super exciting. And then on Monday night's episode of The Fosters, the two boys, Jude and Connor, had a same-sex kiss. They are 13-year-old characters, and it seems that it is likely the youngest same-sex kiss that has ever been seen on U.S. television.
Peter Page!
So Bradley and Peter, what an incredible thing to be showing, that even young love at young age between two boys or two girls or bisexual or trans kids, that what young love looks and feels like is the same for all sort of terrified early adolescents experiencing those kind of things for the first time and making
and how beautiful that show is on the air, and there are those people, we've talked about this before, in the hinterlands who can see that and go, hey, I'm okay. There's nothing wrong with me. Yeah. And
finally, so there's a new show that premiered on Friday night called Sex Box.
Mm-hmm. I watched that.
And the entire premise is the couples go in for counseling. They talk about what their problems are, what the issues are that they're having with their sex life, and then they go into a box and have sex.
And it was ridiculous.
And then come back out and talk about it.
Yeah, there was all of these issues and all of these problems, and they were very complicated problems, but mainly the sex life had just dwindled in the marriage or whatever. But suddenly, after 26 minutes or 7, they time them. So they get very excited when they hit like 20 minutes. They go, oh, they're going 20 minutes. They're going 20 minutes. There's this black pastor woman who I love, and she just lets them have it, especially the men. She is all about the women and their defense. But they go in that box, and then they discuss their problems, and then they come out, and they are fixed almost every time. They had miracles happened on that show.
I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
First of all, don't you think it's likely that some of those couples went in there, it took like 3 minutes, and they were like, you have to wait. We are waiting.
Yeah,
we are waiting. Because sometimes sex goes really quickly, and we are waiting so that we do not embarrass ourselves on television. They sat in there, played solitaire, and we're like, 45 minutes, that feels about right. Okay, we'll go out now.
Especially the first couple was 17 minutes, so everybody after that. You're right. Everybody was more than the 17 minutes.
Yeah, they were like, we don't want to be the least.
It was the men. The men were all saying, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but there was this one woman who never could orgasm because she didn't communicate, and of course she orgasmed in that box, and I don't know.
Well, to me, that feels like a lot of pressure, like knowing
it was a stupid show, John. It was just stupid. I'm not watching it again. I'm done. I did it for the show. I did it for the work.
I can't believe that none of them were like, I couldn't do it, knowing everybody was outside of the box. That's weird.
Well, what's really...
It's so much pressure.
And they're required, I'm sure, by contract to go in there and have sex, but they all act like, they go, would you like to go in the sex box now? And there's this moment where they're like, I don't know. I just don't know if this is going to help at all. And then, okay, let's do it. Let's go for it.
Did anyone ask, 1, did you clean it? 2, did you change the sheets?
And 3, is there a camera in there?
Right.
Because I thought, if they really wanted to make this a hit, they would have an internet version where you
Live
saw
stream
inside the sex box.
Oh, Lord. I'd just be worried about the cleanliness. Like, I don't need to be all up in somebody else's juices. Did y'all, hose it down?
Oh, Emerson, you had to go there.
I mean, these would be the things I'd be thinking backstage. Like, can we go first before it gets soiled?
Can you believe I'm pretending to be like
I know.
Paul? Like that?
Yes,
like
suddenly
after
I'm
all
the
the
one.
things that I say. All right,
let's
we've
flash
got
through the
back
gay
to
news.
looking. Back to looking. We've got Russell Tovey in the news. He's in trouble.
Yeah,
and we like him. And
yes.
I was sorry to see this happen. And he did an interview where he said, I was so envious. I'm not going to do that faux British of everyone who went to Sylvia Young Theater School. I wanted to go, but my dad flat out refused. He thought I'd become some tap dancing freak without qualifications. Now, you would think that at this point he would turn this and say my dad was wrong or whatever, but no, he said, and he was right in a way. I'm glad I didn't go. That might have changed. I feel like I could have been really effeminate if I hadn't gone to the school I went to, where I felt like I had to toughen up. If I had been able to relax, prance around, sing in the street, I might be a different person now. I thank my dad for that, for not allowing me to go down that path, because it probably has given me the unique quality that people think I have. I get told a lot that I am carving my own path, that there are not many actors who are out and able to play straight and gay, and everybody is okay with it. And the internet went fucking ballistic.
Lost its mind.
Yeah, they really did lose their mind. And I did find the comment very off-putting, because I like all my effeminate friends. I like my drag queens. I like all types. And I think that we have got to be embracing of each other. Yeah, and I found this picture of Russell at a friend's party in a pink bikini, so I don't know what happened that day. Oh, it's not pink, it's blue, it's light blue. But, I mean, and he did apologize.
Well,
read his apology.
Well, no, let's talk about the thing, because it's interesting, because I did not have the same reaction that so many people did. I do understand what they're saying, but I think we all bring a lot of our perspectives to the comments, because I find, that he's saying, like, I'm glad I'm not Queenie. Like, that's distasteful. It represents some sort of likely, internalized homophobia, or that he learned and was taught that was not the good way to be, and a little bit of thank goodness I'm not that, because it's made it easier for me to get the work that I'm getting. Now, I think that's a separate issue, and I think that's where it was going. I think he really clumsily said, for better or worse, the circumstances that I grew up in have led me to a place where I get opportunities that other people don't, because I wasn't allowed to become that. Now, Alec Mapa made a really hilariously poignant and on-point statement about what that teaches young Queenie kids who read that, and how we all have to be okay, and there are significant problems with sort of prizing masculinity above all else in our culture. So I understand why people were really upset. And I agree with that statement, and I think this isn't a good thing to be teaching children. That said, I do have a huge problem with the proportion of the reaction.
I agree with you on that.
I think there are distasteful elements of this. I think there are opportunities to have a conversation about this. Where I sort of start to take issue with the response is, this is a bad statement. However, we live in a world where we, between the two of us, can name all of the out gay actors that exist. We can name all of them.
Yes.
So he is already out front. We and the gay blogosphere and gay Twitter and the gay media demand that actors come out of the closet. We demand that they represent us. And the minute that they say anything imperfect or that we don't like, we burn them to the floor.
Right.
I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying we shouldn't call them out. I'm not saying we shouldn't have a conversation, but there has to be some degree of proportion. It happened when Sam Smith trashed Grindr. It happened when Zachary Quinto said something about PrEP people didn't like. We go all the way in, and we certainly should be holding members of our community to the same standard as everyone else. But I read the story, and it started out with, when he was 18 years old, he was stabbed in the head on a train. And that led him to feel the need to go to the gym, to bulk up, to lose being the scrawny rat, I believe is the words that he used for it. I mean, I feel like it's really obvious where this mindset came from for him.
Right.
So let's talk about that and take that into consideration and interview him further. Let's get someone in there to say, this is how people are taking this. What did you mean? Because he did, after 48 hours of a whole lot of people saying truly terrible things, up to and including, he's the worst gay in the world. He tweeted, #white flag, I surrender, you got me. I'm sad, baffled, and saddened that a misfired, inarticulate quote of mine has branded me worst gay ever. If you feel I have personally let you down, I'm sorry, that was never my intention. I'm proud to be who I am and proud of others. We're in this together. I want you to know whatever you think I meant, I didn't. I'm going to ride this out, and one day we will all look back on this moment with a half smile of fascination and amusement. Until that day, I'm going to carry on being me. And I think that
#lowers flag.
That points, and I think that speaks to, there is probably still some things in his mindset that it would be worth talking about, but none of us are perfect. You know, I shudder to think the idea that, like, if people are going to be representatives of our community in a world of art entertainers and artists that is incredibly difficult to stand up and be out front in, that yes, we should hold them accountable, and then we should also forgive them when they apologize. Because so many people said, well, that's a half-assed apology. And
they were evaluating the apology. Today at the gym I was talking, and I said, well, at least he apologized. They said, well, it wasn't very sincere. And I'm like, well, I don't know that it wasn't sincere. Let's not get into his heart and soul. It felt like, to me, it was sincere.
Which is also what people did in judging the first quote, as though, because while he said, I'm glad I wasn't that, he also doesn't say that that is a horrible thing to be. So we're reading into his mindset from both perspectives. You know, it's like he's damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. I just wish there was a way to have some reasonable discourse when people that we hold up in our community make mistakes or say things that are wrong.
And he said he was wrong. I mean, you know, and I like Tuck Watkins very much. He was on our show, but he never said he was wrong about what he said about the gay characters and we can do better. I thought it was kind of interesting. He was at the Family Equality the other night, sitting in the audience. Had to be a little bit awkward when Modern Family was applauded for their two gay characters and having made such a difference in mainstreaming gay. So I think that, I think there is some internal homophobia on his part and on Tuck's part, because I think what Tuck was doing was saying, I don't want, or I'm dismissing that part of our gay community, and you shouldn't write to that, and you shouldn't play those characters. And guess what? They exist.
But I don't think Russell's saying anything near that.
No, I don't
think
either.
He's
I agree with
because
you.
it seems like they basically asked, why do you think you are getting these opportunities? Because the writer even said he took a deep breath before he responded and sort of gave the real answer. And there is some aspects of that within how gay actors get cast. You know, Jesse Smollett that we were talking about from Empire, one of his castmates straight up outed him last week. And then Jesse said, I'm not going to talk about any of that. And then the other actor, not realizing he'd made a mistake, sort of walked it back. Well, if I were Jesse looking at what we do, if anyone says anything at all wrong as a representative of our community, I would be terrified too. You know, yes, of course we have great representatives like Alec Mappa and Jonathan Slavin and Peter Page that are articulate and they're involved in social justice. But being an actor isn't the same thing as being an activist, and asking them to be perfect at all times and not ever being willing to let them grow, I don't think is fair either.
I mean, if we had higher profile, we would have gotten in trouble for some of the things we've said on our show. Come on, let's be honest.
Yes, well, and people, forget that there are extreme challenges in being an out gay actor at all or being a gay actor. There's a story, you got me an audition for a WB pilot with a gay casting director, and when you called, and the character was there were a group of 4 girls in this show. The day before these auditions, they changed one of the girls to a boy to be the gay best friend of these 3 girls. They didn't rewrite any of the dialogue. It was like, let's go get mani-pedis and meet at the shoe store. And when you called this gay casting director, who I've only ever spoken to 5 minutes on the phone in my life, his response was, Emerson is too gay for this role.
Right.
Emerson is too gay to play the gay best friend of a group of girls. Now, I let my queen fly. Like, I will be super girly, but I'm also an actor, and I can turn that down when I want to.
You certainly
and need
can.
To. But so this is the kind of things that openly gay actors or even known gay actors who aren't out face when they go into casting. So I'm a little more willing to be sympathetic and forgiving if he's truly apologetic and understands and continues to explore
and
this
the gay
issue.
community will be okay with him after 5 more naked scenes.
Well, I also think a lot of it goes to a whole lot of people just hate looking, so they use this as an excuse to keep going.
Well, I don't hate looking. I love looking.
I do too. All right, well, that was a whole lot of that. If you have thoughts, it's been a really passionate issue, head to the Dell and Emerson Show Facebook page and let us know what you think, and this may be an issue that we continue on if he does another interview and follows up. Flashing on.
We want him on the show.
Yeah, he's too famous for our show.
You think he's too
famous?
We had Olivia Newton-John.
I know, but that's a personal connection. If you sleep with Russell Tovey, then we could probably get him on our show. So make that a goal.
I don't think I would be the one he chooses, Emerson. Let's be honest.
Because you're too effeminate for him after all this?
Effeminate. No, I was saying the other day, I was like struggling in this single life of mine. I thought, in your 50s, dating again is sort of like being an actor in your 20s. Lots of rejection. Okay. With
yes. All right, flashing on. We'll do a couple of these really quick because they're fun. This is absolutely insane, and it's not even gay, but it involves somebody that we hate. So Sharknado 3, Sharknado being the most ridiculous television movie that's ever happened, and there was a sequel. Well, Sharknado 3 has just cast Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, that's why he's there, obviously, and Ann Coulter as President and Vice President of the United States. I mean, that is the world going to hell in a handbasket.
And Horseface Coulter, according to Southern Baptist Sissies and Willem Belli's rant.
And they are now looking for actual senators and congressmen to be in this movie. I'm sorry, if you have made Ann Coulter the Vice President of the United States, no self-respecting actual congress member had better be a part of this. Don't get me wrong, I'll watch it.
I think she should have been the president.
That's just too far. Sharks raining down and eating people in Washington, D.C., that I can buy. And Coulter is the president? I'm sorry, that's just over the line.
And we have a couple of Grindr stories.
Yes, flashing on. This is a really sort of terrifyingly complicated story for this poor closeted gay teen wrote on Reddit that he found out that my homophobic dad is on Grindr on his iPhone when he asked me to go fetch it from the car. I am still closeted, denial curious, so I know what Grindr is even though I don't have it myself. This makes it so much more confusing for me. And then he updated it to say, unexpected outcome. We'll keep post up for fellow Redditors. Hi, I'll appreciate all the kind words of help and encouragement. I don't know how to explain it in detail, though. Dad stood in denial and went on the defensive, even tried to question my own sexuality. Mom still does not know, and that pains me. I guess he would still be that closeted homophobe, and I, that closeted homo who is too shit to do more. Maybe all of this is just in my head. Maybe I'm just thinking too much. And it's it's horribly sad, and it's that thing, that so many kids deal with rejection anyway for whatever reason, but to deal with self-doubt and additional rejection because not only that, your father is a self-hating hypocrite, obviously, homosexual.
Who's kind of hot on his Grindr picture.
Is even more difficult because clearly this kid, sees himself as somehow inferior for not being willing to do more or to come out. But how terrifying to be wanting to come out and not only knowing that it would not be approved of, but that your father is hiding the same thing.
He will come out. This boy will come out. Just by reading this, I believe that he's strong enough to come out. So you're strong enough to confront your dad and say, "Hey, Dad, this is you on Grindr."
Yeah,
and it's like, why do you have the app in the first place, and why do you know? That's an awkward conversation.
Yes.
Okay, more on Grindr. TV reporter Paul Dietrich went on Grindr and found, I love this, he found a number of same-sex attracted Republicans at the conference of the Conservative Political Action Conference and asked them what they were doing there. One said, because in order for conservatives to win an election, they're going to need to get younger voters. To do that, they need to start being more socially liberal. Essentially, they need to shift libertarian. So that just explains everything.
Absolutely.
You're libertarian if you're on Grindr. The gay men at the CPAC were varied in their comfort levels. Several actually agreed to be on camera, but another claimed that he wanted to protect himself and others associated with him and refused to show his face, much like most do on Grindr.
Yes, well, this is the CPAC we talked about last week, that they wouldn't even let the Log Cabin Republicans have a booth.
But they're on Grindr.
But there everybody is on Grindr. Like,
Oh, the hypocrisy.
All right, flashing on.
Oh, we've got Catwoman
Real
coming
fast.
out. Yes, real fast. She comes out as bisexual in the DC comic. The character is iconic. It's debuted back in 1940 in Batman #1 and Catwoman #39. And Selina shares a kiss with the woman currently in a Catwoman costume. So that's exciting.
It's huge, and it's really exciting. We do a lot of gay news, and it's important. The bisexual community also is working hard to raise awareness and visibility, and to have Catwoman, which totally makes sense. She's always been this hugely sexual creature, and she's often used her sexuality to get her way. And so the idea that she would also be someone whose sexuality extended to both ends of the spectrum, it totally makes logical sense.
Eartha Kitt, Michelle Pfeiffer.
I buy it from all of them.
Sean Young.
I mean, I don't see how
Screen
everyone.
test.
Yes, I don't see how everyone doesn't want to have sex with Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. So that's
and
great.
Eartha Kitt in the day.
Yes. All right, flashing on. These next two stories are just because why not? The internet is absolutely ridiculous. There is a new device that will allow users to charge their phones and mobile devices by masturbating. It's called the Wank Band.
Guess what everybody's getting for Christmas?
Now, it's still in the developmental stage, so you might have to wait for next year.
Well, it's Christmas. That's December. They got to finish it.
Here's hoping. The energy is stored in an internal kinetic charger. So here's my problem. When you're at home by yourself where you do that, you have a charger. You know where you need to charge your phone? In public. What's everybody going to do? Be running to the bathroom
In the
give me a few
car.
minutes. I need to charge my phone.
My charger broke this week. If I had had one of these, I could have just, holed up in my bedroom and charged my phone.
Be like, all of a sudden, all those single-use handicap bathrooms all across the country are going to have permanent lines of people waiting to, quote, charge their phones.
I couldn't find an outlet in the airport. I mean, don't widen your
And
stance.
also, what happens if it goes quickly and you didn't really get that much juice?
Well,
then you're just standing around with a shake weight trying to charge your phone.
Well, my advice is when you use this, do not watch porn simultaneously, and you will get a better charge. Because otherwise. All right. And this one, okay,
And that one was for the men's. This one is for the women's.
I love the vagina stories. I had a whole thing in one of my shows called Dell's Vagina Monologues, where we now have a sex selfie stick that lets you FaceTime inside your vagina. It's a vibrator that can video capture an orgasm from its epicenter that has been invented called the Svankum Gaga camera vibrator. Footage taken can be uploaded to PC or smartphone, and this is just horrifying. And the device also syncs with FaceTime.
Perfect.
So you could just share it with people like, hey, Mom, look what I did today.
I know, but now I'm so worried. Think about how many people have stories of sexting the wrong person or butt dialing a person. If I get accidentally FaceTimed by some girl who's trying to FaceTime her boyfriend the inside of her vagina, that's terrifying. What if you FaceTime the wrong person?
I don't think that's... I don't know that that's so hot
and
to
also,
see the orgasm inside the vagina.
See the muscles contracting?
I mean, that's like just seeing a heartbeat or something, isn't it?
Well, and also those...
I mean, I've not been there in a long time.
Are those pervy guys on Tinder going to start asking for inside your vagina pics? Like women don't have enough things to be judged about in the first place?
Well...
Ladies, the inside of your vagina is beautiful, however it already is.
It says that the Love Honey is the company that makes it. Love Honey. It allows users to get to know their body in its entirety, thanks to the remarkably clear footage this camera captures. Thanks to its FaceTime capability, sharing the view with your lover couldn't be easier, whether you've sat right next to each other or if you're miles apart. Isn't that wonderful? We just are the things John is just sitting there red-faced.
You guys,
again,
I spend a lot of time doing research.
He just showed a picture. You didn't put that for the viewers, right?
There you go.
I'm sorry. I may have to get up and just vomit. That was so horrifying. I cannot believe you did that right now.
Well, but now you have presents. That give you presents for all the men and the women in your life for Christmas.
Thank God Emerson has the next story.
Christmas shopping done. We're going to skip 2 because we're way off. All right, so HRC has discovered an interesting thing. We talk a lot about conversion therapy on our show because it's an issue that we're very passionate about here on the show. The HRC leadership has just made the request directly to executives at Psychology Today to stop allowing advertisers to advertise businesses that do conversion therapy on their website. HRC became aware that a California-based marriage and family therapist was advertising conversion therapy on their website. Since no psychological organization supports the idea of this therapy, and we've talked about how New Jersey just ruled that it's actually fraud to say that you're offering a service that it's not possible to achieve, HRC is calling on Psychology Today to not be willing to take these people's money. Which is great, and they sure shouldn't be. It seems like you wouldn't offer, weird pills that do things on a website that's supposed to be about an actual medicine field.
Or I don't think the advocate would, since they don't support conversion therapy either, I don't think they would take that ad.
Exactly. So the CEO and vice president have not responded to private efforts by HRC to persuade them to remove the listing. So they have gone public and said this is absurd and it needs to be gone. So
good for HRC.
Thank you, HRC, for picking up the conversion.
They're doing
therapy.
a lot these days, HRC.
Well, but a lot of people have had issues with why isn't HRC weighing in on some of these religious freedom bills in various places? The big one in Arkansas that didn't fail, Chad Griffin's from there, and they put out 2 press releases, and a lot of people felt like that wasn't enough. So maybe
there was a big blast. They must be listening because there was a big blast this morning. I got a blast from them about just specifically that we've got to counter all of this, and it said we are too late, and they specifically mentioned Arkansas. But we're not too late for the rest of these.
And that's great because we've talked a lot about how a lot of these organizations that have been primarily focused on same-sex marriage are going to need, to pick up new issues and move it forward, hopefully from June on. So maybe conversion therapy and religious freedom bills and trans rights will be some of the things that HRC is able to take their enormous influence and swing toward.
Because
focusing on
whatever we say about Phyllis Schlafly, she's absolutely right. She was absolutely right. It is not going to be over. It is fueling all of these haters and these religious organizations. It is just giving them fuel, as we are witnessing in Alabama right now.
Yes.
It's, more on conversion therapy. South African men make men out of boys camp directors were convicted of murder this week. The owners of the camp in South Africa, which claimed to offer a gay cure, have been convicting of murder after a teen and their care died. This is a horrifying story. Alex de Coker and Michael Aramis found guilty of murder, child abuse, and assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm after a 15-year-old Raymond Buys. He died in their camp in 2011. It was, if you go and you look at this story, and there are images which I didn't want to even show those images of what they did to this poor boy. Not just him. I mean, many other boys. They were punched, beaten with a spade, a stick, and a rubber pipe. They were forced to eat soap, to pick up feces with their mouth. Whenever they fell unconscious, de Coker and Aramis would kick and slap the boy until he woke up. It's just so sad, and he died. The days before his death, Buys was admitted to a hospital where doctors reported that he was emaciated and had cigarette burns, was brain damaged, and in a deep coma, had a broken arm, and signs of kidney failures. But let's go back to what those parents should have also been convicted, in my opinion, to put their child into the care of these people that they don't know anything about, not doing any research. And this was not the first one. This was not that. There were many other cases of abuse before this, and people continue to put their kids in these camps. So good for them. They're going to jail for a long time.
And interestingly, it really ties to the Russell Tovey story. These camps literally are based on the premise of making your son more masculine. This idea that masculinity is something to be prized above all else, which is not only misogynistic because it implies that being feminine is something lesser, which is about women, but also about there being able to be femininity in men. You talk about the possibility of how the community Russell grew up in, and the way in which he didn't feel safe, and the way that he was attacked that led him to feel like masculine was potentially better. That's the entire premise of what these camps exist for. So gay, straight, across various countries and various cultures, the celebration of masculinity as something somehow to be prized above all else is a problem that we have to keep talking about.
And there are people who are running these organizations, like our guest Jeremy Schwab, who defends them by basically saying, well, this is horrifying, this is awful, my organization would not do this, would not abuse on a physical. But what they're doing, it's not on a physical level, it is on a mental level, because the mental repercussions that you do to a child and harm them is absolutely, that's what's causing the suicides. That's what's causing such internal hatred. So, we can't say enough about this, and continue to expose it until it's eradicated.
All right, let's check in with crazy. First off, this would be terrifying if it wasn't so absolutely ridiculous. A Christian activist has proposed a California ballot measure to approve the death penalty for homosexuality. A man named Matt McLaughlin, which interestingly the internet can't even really figure out who he is, filed his proposed ballot measure legally with the Attorney General's office, paid the $200 filing fee for what he has titled the Sodomite Suppression Act. I mean, it's a catchy name, I'll give him that. However, I'm going to read it to you, but he has to get 366,000 signatures on a petition to get it on the ballot.
Good luck, Matt.
So that's not going to happen. But let's just share for a moment the ludicrous nature of what he has said. 1, the abominable crime against nature known as buggery. I love everything about that he used that word. Like somehow he's like an Oscar Wilde fan or something, because it really hasn't been used since back then.
Long time.
Called also sodomy, is a monstrous evil that Almighty God, giver of freedom and liberty, commands us to suppress on pain of our utter destruction, even as he overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. 2, seeing that it is better that the offender should die rather than that all of us should be killed by God's just wrath against us for the folly of tolerating the wickedness in our midst, the people of California wisely command, in the fear of God, that any person who willingly touches another person of the same gender for purposes of sexual gratification be put to death by bullets to the head or by any other convenient method.
Convenient method.
I was like, what is that? Like a wire around the throat? Like, I feel like you're trying to write a law, sir. You should be specific.
I know, and we laugh and we think, oh, this is, but it's just horrifying that this exists. But you know what? He ain't gonna. California, pick another state. This is not gonna happen. He's not gonna get these signatures, so he's wasting everybody's time, including his own.
So it's funny, but it's also terrifying. It's a reminder that there are some people out there that still believe that strongly, that there are still kids that face bullying from that kind of attitude and mentality. There are people whose lives are still in danger just for walking down the street and it being quote unquote obviously visible as a gay, bisexual, or lesbian or transgender person. So we laugh at some of it, but it's a reminder that we have to remain vigilant. And all right, checking in with more crazy. One of our favorite recurring cast members is here on Checking In with Crazy.
Pat Robertson is back in the news.
Bless his stupid heart.
The name of this story, smoking pot is slavery to vegetables. I'm going to try to do Pat. I watched the YouTube of it today. You know, Pat does it in a very soft-spoken, sort of genteel, sort of grandfather-y way.
He's been on TV so long. That faux sincerity thing, he's got that down.
I mean, if it weren't for the craziness that he was saying, you would think,
yes,
I kind of agreed with you there. And then all of a sudden you go, whoa, what the fuck?
If he grew out one of those beards everybody has now, I'd sit on his lap and tell him what I want for Christmas. He's practically cuddly. All right, tell Shores, give us your Pat Robertson.
God gave you and me as human beings authority. He gave us dominion over everything on this earth, over all the animals, all the snakes, all the birds, all the plants, all the vegetables. Cocaine is the product of a vegetable. Alcohol is the product of a vegetable. Marijuana is a vegetable. And yet people are enslaved to vegetables. And you were made in the image of God. God made you in his image to reign and rule with him. He gave you incredible authority. Why would you become a slave to a vegetable? Why? Why would you do it? God Almighty can deliver you from the bondage of your addiction, your slavery to vegetables. He can set you free.
Amen. I have a first quibble. I'm pretty sure marijuana is a herb and not a vegetable.
I cocaine, is that a vegetable?
I don't even know.
It's like a powder.
Well, I guess it's better than being a slave to kale, like a whole half of Los Angeles. Don't get me started on the kale. It's just too early.
Love it when you quote me. He's 84. He will be dead soon.
That's the good news. Next to Phyllis Schlafly.
Come on, Pat. Come to Jesus. My arms are open for you, Pat. Come to Jesus.
Can I just say we are doing so good with the callbacks today? Yes. Aren't we? Isn't that one of them comedy things
That's
y'all
like,
talk
circle
about?
Back.
Caroline Ray taught you about that.
Yes,
right?
she did. Okay, what's gay at sports blog? We'll end the
show. We talked about the Benham brothers, bless their stupid hearts. Those two homophobic twins that lost their HGTV show because they said something about gays and Nazis. Well, the Benham brothers were at the National Religious Broadcasters Convention recently, and they told the story of how they met a gay man who vocally opposed their stance on homosexuality. Here's what one of them said. I don't remember which one. I can't remember if it's the top or the bottom that said this. He said, We had so many people from the gay community reaching out to us, and one man in particular from the city of Chicago reached out, and he said things to me that made me reach around. He said things to me that made me lose my appetite, but I simply responded in love. After a little conversation back and forth, I found out he loved baseball, and I got him tickets to a Cubs game. He shot me a Facebook post and said, I was not expecting that, and I've been thinking a lot about this. I've chosen to walk away from my lifestyle. First of all, dear Mr. Benham, I must call him Bottom Benham because it's more fun. Dear Mr. Bottom Benham, no gay man in the history of ever has ever referred to being gay as his lifestyle, so I feel like you made the story up.
He made it up. I mean, maybe he got some random person some tickets, but this is bullshit. Liar.
And sports ball doesn't make you gay. You go to gay to watch them in their cute little sports ball costumes because you're gay.
Yeah, and I want to know, if you're going to say this, give me a name.
Right.
Let's talk to this
Why don't
guy.
you get that I came out of my lifestyle guy up to stand
Yeah.
next to you and testify?
Right. Yeah.
Hey, man,
Let's have him say
can we all get a gay man? Gay men.
Hey, we're on time.
We are.
We plowed.
We did. We plowed
through this show.
Plowed it. Plowed right through it. For those of you who's been missing him, On Air with Tony Sweet is back up next. He's been running UBN Radio. For those of you who've been asking, our shows are going back up on the UBN Radio website, and they are returning to iTunes, and we're working out some things there, so thanks for your patience. After that is the Ann Walker Show. As always, you can tech him with Del Shores on the Del Shores fan club on Facebook, me at Emerson Collins Official. You can always hate tweet me at actually Emerson and at Del Shores.
And we'll respond.
We will.
We are minor celebrities. We have time to
yes,
respond.
we do.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We love doing this show. Keep listening. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.